Hey guys, so if you watched my last video, we went over list. Now we're going to move up another step and learn looping and how to loop through a list. Okay, what is looping? Looping allows you to take action or a set of actions on a list of items. It is useful if you have an action performed for each item in a list. So for example, we have the Jedi list here. Inside that list, I have the name of some Jedis: Obi-Wan, Luke, and Yoda. Now, and I like to say for each, it's not in the code, but just, this is how my brain interprets it. For each, and this is where we're starting the loop, each Jedi, right? So it's gonna grab that first Jedi, which is Obi-Wan, in Jedi list, which is my list, you're going to perform an action, and that action is going to be indicated by a tab. So you hit tab on your keyboard, right? It tabs out the action that is going to be performed. So in this case, it's going to be print Jedi. So it's going to print that Jedi to the screen like you see here. Now, very important, that colon right there. Okay. If you do not put that colon after for Jedi in Jedi list, you will receive an error like that. So that colon indicates whatever's below it is going to be the action that you want the loop to perform. So now if I run it again, it runs. And I always forget this. I always forget the colon, and my code errors out, and then I remember, oh yeah, don't forget the colon. All right, so let's move on. So looping is useful in automating common tasks. Python will repeat the task for each value in the list, like I mentioned earlier. Let's go over this again. Jedi list, for Jedi in Jedi list, colon, print, and here I'm just having it print out a string, the format, single quote indicating whatever's within the single quote is a string, the curly brace, which indicates that I'm inserting a variable into this string, Jedi, and sending it to the title method. So the title method will then take the input of, let's go with Obi-Wan, and ensure that the first letter in the first word is capitalized. Same with the next letter in the last name, right? And it says, is a great Jedi Master. So we know every Jedi in my Jedi list was not just a Jedi, but they were a Jedi Master at that. So what I'm going to do now is click Control Bravo, Control B, and it's going to print out, it's going to loop through my list, grab that value, and insert it into the string, which is the sentence below. Okay, and it's going to do that for each Jedi in my list. Okay, so now we're going to go over doing something after running a loop. So as earlier, I mentioned that we had a list of Jedis here, and stored in the Jedi list variable, and if this helps you remember, for each Jedi in Jedi list, just remember each isn't there, but that helps me remember what it's doing, colon, print, format, and then we're inserting a variable, so we have to put the curly brace, Jedi, sending to the title method, just going to take that input and send out as output, right, for the capitalizing Obi-Wan. And then it's going to say, is a great Jedi Master. End single quote, and then closing off that with parentheses there. And below that, it's going to say print and then another string. I can't wait to watch Star Wars so I can see. And then we're doing the same thing, inserting that variable. So it's going to be the Jedi Master's name. And below that, so once it's finished iterating through the loop, so it's gone through Obi-Wan, Luke, and Yoda, it's going to then print to the screen, "Thank you for watching, my fellow Jedi," because anyone who likes and subscribes to this video is a Jedi. And you're a part of the Jedi Academy. So anyhow, so that's that. And if we run it, let's see what we get. So as you can see here, it just prints out Obi-Wan is a great Jedi Master. I can't wait to watch Star Wars so I can see Obi-Wan. Below that, it does the same for Luke and Yoda. And below that, thank you for watching, my fellow Jedis. Okay, so if you've been following along with me, I've put all the code in the description of this video. So what I've done is I commented out this code. So if you decide to just run all the code in the description of the video, it doesn't error out on you. You can do that. You can follow along that way if you'd like. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the comments from a few of these. So remove from 5, 6, and 7 to replicate an error. So avoiding indent errors. So like I mentioned earlier, once you start that loop, so you indicate that by for Jedi and jedilist : let's say you were to forget to indent, right? So you forget to hit the tab to indent. Well, let's say you didn't do it. What would happen? Well, this is what would happen. You would get an error, and it would tell you error caused, and it'll also give you little tip here, indentation error. And then it'll point out where that indentation error is. So I'll look here and I'll say, oh, wow, I forgot my indent. Boom, do an indent, run it again. And looks like we're running into another issue here. Let me double check this real quick. Okay, I fixed it. It looks like one of my variables was misnamed. I fixed that, so you won't even see that in the description of this video, because I would have fixed it before then. So if we run it, then it just loops through and we get the names that we want. Another error I like to replicate is what happens if you forget to indent, except in this case, we have our list of Jedis for Jedi and jedilist : print, and then of course it's just gonna print the Jedi's name is a great Jedi Master. Now, what if we meant to have that loop print another sentence? It would print, I can't wait to watch Star Wars so I can see the Jedi's name, right here. What if we wanted that to be a part of the loop and we forgot to indent? Well, this what would occur. It would actually loop through it, and at the very end, it would then say that sentence, right? I can't wait to watch Star Wars so I can see Yoda. And it only does that for the last Jedi in our list. So you'd have to indent so that when it goes through the loop, it knows to include that string with the loop every time it iterates. So now I put Control B and it does that. Right, so it's actually going to print out both of these strings as it goes through the list. Now, what if we indent when we don't need to? And I'm going to simulate that here. You're going to get an error. So in this case, I'm just taking the message, hello Python world, putting it into the message variable, printing that variable out as a string, and I indent it. Now you don't need to indent because there's no loop. So you're going to get an error. Simply remove the indent and you'll be good to go. And my favorite error we're about to replicate is what happens if you forget the colon. So you have your Jedi list, for Jedi in Jedi list, colon, except I'm missing it in this case. Let's see what happens. Well, it's going to say syntax error, expecting colon, and then that'll be your cue to say, well, I forgot my colon. Now, what if we want to loop through a range of numbers? So in this case, we want to loop through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, you just input 4 value in, and then you'd specify you're using the range. And this is somewhat like a method, right? We're going to input the 1, and we're going to say we're going to start at 1, we're going to end at 5, and then down here we're going to print the value. So down here it will show 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, looks like you forgot 5. Okay, let's input 6 so we can get 5. There we go. Now that makes sense. Probably because, well, we forgot the 0, right? Starts at 0. Now here we're going to use a range list. So first we have our range, which is 1 through 6, which is really 1 through 5, including 0. And we've nested that inside of our list. See, that's inside of it. Nested is just a fancy term for placing something within something else. So we're placing code within code, if that makes sense. And we're putting in the numbers variable, then we're printing out the numbers, and down here, it will just print that list out. Now, what if I want to print even numbers? Well, you would use your range, and this time we're going to start at 2 and end at 11. And we're going to increment by 2, which in this case would show even numbers. And we're going to put that in the list. Then we're going to print those numbers out. And that's what you're seeing down here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Squaring numbers in a list using the range we specify. So here you have square, and then the list is always indicated by the brackets, right? Open, close, for value in range, and we're going to start at 1 and at 11, and then we're going to start a loop here. So square, and within that variable, we're going to store squared value. So value, and then it's a square down there. And then we're going to append the squared value, which is inserted this variable here, right? So looking at it from right to left, you have your value, which is in this range. Your value is going to be put here. It's going to then be squared, and it's going to be stored in the square variable. Then we're going to have that variable here, and we're going to append it to our list here, which is empty in this case, but as it goes through the loop, it will fill up. And then we're going to print the squares, which is the list. So down here, you see 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, right? Because 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, and on. Now, what if we wanted to quickly find the minimum value in a list, the maximum value in a list, and a sum? So we just wanted to add every value in the list together. Well, you can do that by using these methods. So you have your list of digits, 1 through 9, and I included 0 on there as well. And what we're going to do is the first one is going to find the minimum value in our list, right? So min, and you can think of this again like a method. taking the input of all of these digits, trying to go through it and find the minimum, and then shoot it out as output, right? And so if you look down here, we have 0. So even though 0 is at the end, it's still detecting that's the minimum value. And for maximum, it's going to find the maximum value, which in this case is 66. And for the sum, it's just going to add all the values together, and we get 105. Now, optimizing code is really important, and a list comparison allows you to do that. And the way you're able to do that is kind of backwards if you think about it, but you have your square list here, and you start off first with the action you want to perform. So in this case, we want to square the values, and then next you're going to have for value in range, and then we set the range from 1 to 11, which includes 0, so that's really 1 to 10 if you think about it. And then it's going to print out every value that has been put in the list. So down here we have 1, 4, 9, 16, and so on. So it's just scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So here's the challenge. We want to print the numbers from 1 to 20. So first I'm going to start off with the empty list. As it goes through and performs an action on the range we specify, it will fill this list up. For digit in range, and I set my range 1 through 21. And then below that is the action it's going to perform, which is going to be appending that number into our digit list, which is specified up here. And then it's going to print that digit list out. So if I run my code, you'll see it print out the numbers for 1 to 20 in a list. Okay, here's the fun part. We're going to print 1 million in a list. This is pretty cool, actually. So here we have an empty list, 4-digit in range, 1 to 1 million. I like to use the underslash. Python just ignores this, but it looks better. It's more readable. Those kind of look like commas in a way. So I like to use the underslash, but you could think of that just kind of being like a comment. Digit, it's going to append every number for 1 to 1 million, and it's going to print that to the screen. Then it's going to add all the numbers from 1 to 1 million up. See how long this takes us. You can see it's running, and this is what all the numbers from 1 through 1 million added up together look like. Now, what if I wanted to only print odd numbers? Well, let's use this here. So we got value, and then times it, or square it by 1 for value in range, 1 through 21. All right, and then we're going to increase it by 2, and then we're going to print that out to the list here. Let's see what that looks like. So you have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and then it goes on because, you know, 1 plus 2 will be 3, and plus 2 is 5, and then it just continues on, showing only the odd numbers. What if we wanted to do the same thing except have multiples of 3? Well, you'd specify the same thing, except this time you start at 3 and you increase by 3. So then it'd be 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on. What if we wanted to make a list of cubes? So in this case, we'll have our values, and it will then multiply those by 3. So it'd be to the power of 3, right? For value in range, 1 through 21. And so it's going to take 1, and that's basically 1 times 1 times 1, or 2, which is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8, and so on. So do the same for 3, 4, and that's what the cube is. Okay, what if I want to do the same thing except for the values from 1 to 10? Well, you do the same thing except you specify for the range 1, starting at 1, ending at 10. All right, slicing list. Slicing. Now, imagine this. You have a whole cheesecake, but let's say you want only a piece of the cheesecake. You don't want to eat the whole thing. So you slice a part of the cheesecake. We're doing the same thing with lists, except in this case, we have a list of Star Wars characters: Luke, Darth Vader, Han Solo, and Yoda. We're going to only take Luke, Darth Vader, and Han Solo, and we're going to leave Yoda. So we indicate that here by our Star Wars character, and the slice, as you see, it has the bracket. Inside the bracket, it starts at 0 and ends at 3, and our end bracket. Let's go ahead and run that and see what it looks like. So again, Luke, Darth Vader, and Han Solo, but it leaves Yoda. What happens if you leave the first slice out? It starts from the beginning. So in this case, we have our list of characters, Star Wars, and bracket, and then you see I didn't input a number, :3. So if I don't input a number, it's just going to start at 0. So it's going to do the same thing. Now, what if I want to slice the last 2 characters in my list, Yoda and Han Solo? So in this case, I will have my list starting at 2, which, as we mentioned in our last video, we start at 0, 0 as the index. Then the next index is 1, which is Darth Vader. Then the next index is 2, which is Han Solo, and that's why it starts at Han Solo. And then the next index is 3, which is Yoda. So it starts at 2, just like we indicated here, and there's no ending number, so it will just completely go through the rest of the list, which is Yoda, and then it'll finish. And you could even loop through a slice. So you have your list, 4 characters in Star Wars characters starting at 0, which in this case we don't indicate any. So then it says 2, so it's going to start at 0 and end at 2. So 0, 1, and then it's already ended because it's got to end at 2. So then down here I'll print Luke, Darth Vader, and it will loop through our characters and then print the characters out to the screen down there. Now, what if I wanted to take the values from one list and copy them over to another list? So for instance, I have my Darksider list, which is Darth Vader, and whenever I put it Obi-Wan, let me change that to Maul. Maul, right? And we're going to take that Darksider list and we're going to copy it over to Darksider list 2, which is the same list, except this time you can see Darksider list. So it's taking that first list up here and bracket : indicating we want it to copy it over to our new list, Darksider list 2. Now, what if we want to copy that list and then at the end actually print those lists out so you can see that we have 2 lists? So my favorite Star Wars characters are in the first list, which is printed out down here, Darth Vader, Darth Maul. My viewer and subscribers' favorite characters are printed down here, Darth Vader, Darth Maul. They're the same list. All right, what if we want to slice the last 3 characters of our list? Well, it'll be the same thing, except this time print Star Wars characters -3, and we're starting at -3, so starting at the end of the list. So let's go and print that, and yeah, we got that Darth Vader, Han Solo, and Yoda. So what if I want to loop through a slice list? Well, Star Wars characters here, print the first 3 characters are 4 characters in Star Wars characters, starting at the beginning, ending at 3, print, and we're setting it to the title method. And so down here, you can see the first 3 characters are, that's just a string that we have up here. And below that's going to be the slice list that we've looped through, not to include Yoda, because we stopped at 3, right? 3. So what if we want to append a new value to our list? So what we do is we have our list here and my favorite, and we're going to use the append method. And then we're going to input the string we want to append, which in this case Darth Vader. So append it to the end of the list. Print my favorite characters are as a string. Then we start our loop, 4 characters in my favorite characters list, print characters. And so here you can see it starts off with my favorite characters are Luke, Yoda, Solo, and then append Darth Vader at the end. Now, what if we wanted to add a new value to a list that we've copied? And so in this case, we have my favorite characters, Luke, Yoda, Solo. My Jedi viewers' favorite characters, which is just a copy of my list. And so it says, and we'll just print this out, my Jedi viewers' favorite characters are, and what if I wanted to include Rey in there? But let's say I didn't like Rey as a character, but my viewers liked Rey as a character. So what we would do is we would append Rey to my Jedi viewers character list, which is a copy of mine, but mine is somewhat separate because I don't like Rey. For character in my Jedi viewer characters, print, and then it'll print that out, Luke, Yoda, Solo, and Rey, because it's printing out my Jedi viewer character list. And to show you, we can have a copy of a list that isn't identical because we've changed it. So here is the code that we just went over, and below that, I'm referring to my list here. So my Jedi viewers, Stormtrooper, okay. So actually what we've done in this case is actually it's the same, it looks like the same code. So it's exactly the same code, except instead of Rey, we replaced Rey with Stormtroopers. So basically, you know, here we start off with Rey, down here we have Stormtroopers, so we replace that by appending this new character in there. And by this point, I think we need a break from Star Wars characters, so I've changed it to cars. So car list, we've got the Tesla, we've got Honda, we've got a tank. I just include that because sometimes we just got to change things up, right? So 4 car in car list, and we start off at 0, work our way to 3, and it's going to print my favorite car is, and then it's going to print that down here. Tesla, Honda, tank. I thought this would also be a good time to go over line breaks. So here you can see print, backslash in, so we have double quote, backslash in, so it's going to make a line break. So when we print this out to the screen, you can see that there's a line break there. It just helps with readability. Below that, we're going to have our list, except this time we're going to set the list to start off when it loops through it. It's going to start off at the value 2 and end at 4. So when you start at 2, which in this case is going to be tank, and end at 4, you're only going to print out tank and Hot Wheel, right? So it's only going to print out between 2 and 4, which is this. and more on slicing. So if we want to slice through the last character in this list, we got Tesla, Honda, Tank, Hot Wheels, 4-car and car list. Start at 3, end at 4. Print that out to the screen. My favorite car is a car, and it's just going to print my favorite car as a Hot Wheels. Okay, and now we're going to copy a list. So here we have my favorite video games, Halo, Star Wars, Battlefront, and Call of Duty. My viewers' favorite video games, which in this case is going to be the same as my list. And then I'm going to print my favorite video games are, the list of my favorite video games, break, print my viewers' favorite video games are, and then it's going to, I'm just going to fix that real quick. There we go. Print my viewers' favorite video games, so which should be the same as my list, right? Let's go and see what that looks like. Yes. So now we're going to have 2 lists here. We're going to then show those 2 lists. I just noticed an issue. Let me fix it real quick. Okay, back, and I fixed it. So we have my favorite video games, Halo, Star Wars, Battlefront, Call of Duty, right? And then what if I want to append a video game? Well, I want to append life, because life is kind of like a video game, isn't it? So we have life, and I'm going to append that to my favorite games. And I'm going to print my favorite video games are. We're going to loop through my list of favorite video games and then print it so you can see that I have Star Wars, Call of Duty, and life in there now. And my viewers' favorite video games, which should be a copy of my list, but let's append something else. We're going to append Call of Python 2, and it's going to say my viewers' favorite video games are the following, and then it's going to go through the list and print the games. So right here it says my viewers' favorite video games are Halo, Star Wars, Call of Duty, Call of Python 2. So let's go over tuples. Tuples allows you to create a list that doesn't change. Essentially, it's a persistent list. Use parentheses instead of square brackets. So here I have my list, which have parentheses, 200 and 50. And numbered list, print number list starting at 0, which is 200. Print number list starting at 1, which is 50. Print that to the screen, and it's 250. All right, let's simulate an error here. So like I mentioned, tuples do not change values. So if we have our list 200 and then another number 50, then we print that out to the screen, then we try to change 200 to 250, we're going to get an error because this is a persistent number. Now, the cool thing about tuples is that you can also loop through them. So number list 250 for numbers in number list colon print, and then it'll print out 250 as well. So you can loop through them. Now, the only way you can reassign a new value is if you basically rewrite your variable. So in this case, we have price list, which lists the price of gas last year, which was $3 or $4. So I put print January's cost of gas for price in price list, print price. So it's going to print $3 to $4. And then down here, we take that price list variable and we change the value from 5 to 6. So we had to change, basically we had to rewrite that variable. And so June's cost of gas that's between $5 to $6. So now if I print that to the screen, we can see that here. And so now we've come to the end. Tips. So it's recommended that you use 4 spaces when you indent. You may have to adjust your code editor to do that. set a limit of about 80 characters per line. So that means when you're writing out characters per line like so, you want to make sure you only set about 80 characters. Otherwise, this is what they're going to see when they read your code. They're going to have to scroll all the way in and out, and that can be burdensome. So just don't do that. As long as you could have a line of code and you don't have to scroll in and out, you should be good. Use line breaks. Like I mentioned earlier, those line breaks help when you're reading the code and the output. Next class, we'll be talking about if statements. If statements are my favorite statements. You can literally continue on with your career just making basic scripts using if statements and not use anything else. But we want to learn everything else that we can. More tools in our toolbox is always a good thing. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It motivates me to create more videos. Thank you for watching. Till next time.